What's going on, everybody? Max and Trev here, and we're back with our breakdown of Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 2. This episode is called Stormborn. What's going on, Trev?
Oh, not too much.
So, pretty sweet. This episode's a little bit different than the last episode in the sense that there isn't that much to analyze. It's only a setup episode to what we're going to expect moving forward, which is going to be pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, there's some good nuggets in there, but we're mainly just going to be gushing over it.
Oh, for sure. And I love this episode, and more I'm realizing this season is really doing a lot of callbacks. More than I expected. They're always referring to previous things that have happened in previous seasons, which I love, and it shows that things are kind of wrapping up, and they're really utilizing plot points in the past, which I appreciate.
Yeah, because I think we're on the same page on this. I really do think this is the end of the political aspects of this world.
Oh, it's slowly dying out, and we got little tastes of that throughout the episode. The main political thing I think we would say is the whole Daenerys arriving and her reputation as the Mad King's daughter, and that's what Cersei wants to capitalize on, whereas Daenerys wants to kind of pull herself away from that reputation.
Yeah.
But speaking of Daenerys, let's focus in on the girl who was born during a storm, and that's where this episode takes off. It's a giant storm at Dragonstone, and they're talking about how Daenerys was Stormborn. She was born during a terrible storm, and she pretty much states that she doesn't feel like this is home. It didn't feel like a homecoming, and she doesn't really want to stay at Dragonstone for long. And we talked about that. Just, it's interesting how she doesn't feel comfortable in this environment. She almost feels more comfortable in Meereen. And she's almost like rushing to capture the Seven Kingdoms, you know?
Yeah. I'm thinking that she's feeling a little bit vulnerable. We were kind of discussing it all week.
Yeah. But then it moves on, and Varys tells her that people were already plotting to kill Cersei before Daenerys came over to Westeros, so the odds are in her favor in that sense. But Daenerys does dismiss the fact that people are drinking secret toast to her health. And this is something that they talked about in previous seasons. But I found it really funny because she keeps talking about Viserys and how he was such an idiot, and that he believed that people actually would rally to his side as soon as he got to Westeros. And she also says that if Viserys arrived at Dragonstone, he would have already invaded King's Landing. So I personally just find this really funny because at the start of the series, Daenerys actually believed that people would flock to her side if she came to Westeros. And she was taught by Jorah and other people on her council that she has to win the hearts of the people.
Yeah.
So I find it funny how she's kind of bringing down her brother, even though she was in a similar place. It just kind of shows how far she's come.
Yeah, she's definitely growing as a character every single time we see her. But she's got so much on her shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. And the main conflict that we see in this episode that we've never seen with Daenerys before is that everybody who supported Daenerys in the past supported her because of who she was, and they wanted her to be queen. Jorah's a big example of that.
Yeah.
But now she's surrounded by allies who don't necessarily want her to be in power. They have other motives for putting her in power. And this whole thing starts with Varys.
Yeah, he gets grilled.
Really grilled. She thanks him for bringing in the Tyrells and the Sandsnakes, but she grills the hell out of him for serving her father, and then kind of moving on to him to King Robert.
He's a weasel. As much as how awesome he is, he's a I guess you could describe him as a rat. He knows how to abandon ship when it's sinking. So that's not necessarily a bad quality.
Yeah, when it suits
in a world like this.
Yeah, and it pisses her off because Varys actually backed Viserys before he knew about Daenerys, before he knew what she would grow to become. And she was just pissed off because Varys didn't know what an idiot Viserys was. And she feels like she was the one who he should have been backing.
Yeah.
So Tyrion obviously backs him. Daenerys dismisses Tyrion's remarks about Varys' loyalty. But then Varys gets all deep.
Very deep.
So he says that he uses his eyes. He doesn't fight for her, he fights for the people. And he pretty much states hey, if you want somebody who blindly follows you, that's fine, kill me. But if you let me live, I'll support you well because you're the best for the realm. So what this statement really tells me is that if there's somebody better for the realm than Daenerys, you're damn right Varys will jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah, he's not, like he says, he's not in it for the king or the queen. He's in it for the people that these king and queens happen to rule. He almost sounds like he's democratic in a way, but because of the world that he lives in, he has no choice but to be the one who champions the good king or queen.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up democracy. The whole thing in this episode is that Daenerys is trying to gain control over her followers. She wants them to be loyal.
Yeah, she's taken the diplomatic approach, even though she's conquering.
And every single time in history, there has been blind loyalty to kings. But all of her rulers kind of are following a different agenda. You have Arya and Olenna. They're following her because they want revenge against the Lannisters.
Exactly.
You have Varys because he wants what's best for the people. And the whole thing about democracy is that Daenerys stated that she's not going to turn the wheel. She's not going to come on top of the wheel. She's going to break the wheel. And it pretty much states that she doesn't want to be like every other ruler, but without meaning to, she's inciting or like bringing on a democratic environment because all these people are supporting her that don't really support her. They support all these different things. So it hints that all these people aren't going to be like completely loyal to her, which I think would lead into, or could progressively lead to, a democratic society.
Yeah, but like what I think happens is that kings and queens and knights and all that stuff isn't going to matter when Jack Frost comes a-nipping. You know what I mean? They're going to have to work together. That's the whole thing. That's why it almost seems like not necessarily pointless to us because we enjoy the drama that's going on, but it's pointless for all this fighting when really they're going to have to turn and sort of embrace each other in order to fight the real threat.
Exactly. And that brings in another character, Jon. Even Melisandre talks about that. And he's going there not to support Daenerys. He's going there because he wants to save the fucking world.
Yeah.
So it's another character, another potential ally that comes into the mix that doesn't support Daenerys for who she is. And that makes her uncomfortable because in her cabinet before, such as Jorah, she's had these people who support her for her and her greatness. But she's not really having that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. But the ending of the scene I really liked, how she has Varys swear to her that if he thinks that she's failing the people, she wants Varys to tell her rather than scheme behind her back.
Yeah. We were talking about this, and it seems like she's kind of like half paranoid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she seems so strong in every other scene, but now that she's here and the chips are out, she's like not necessarily second guessing it, but she's definitely not feeling at home, even though this is metaphorically her home.
Yeah, and it's huge too, because it's a whole different landscape, and now she's got to think of the political. This is where the political part of the show comes in. Instead of just taking over King's Landing or taking over Westeros, she's got to think about the people. How will they feel if she's a foreign invader coming in with Unsullied and Dothraki?
Yeah.
And they got to factor that into their battle plans.
Exactly.
And then there's a lot of other chips on the table that she hasn't even realized yet. And we get a hint of that when Melisandre arrives in Dragonstone. Daenerys tells Melisandre that she's always welcome because the Red Priest brought peace back to Meereen.
Yeah.
And Varys pretty much brings up her support of Stannis and how she failed him, and now she's just kind of flocking to Daenerys' side. But she dismisses it because, you know, everyone supports different kings, and Melisandre was lucky because she came during a day where they were pardoning people for their past supports.
Yes.
But just Melisandre being there and Daenerys' support for the Red Priest for helping Meereen,
yeah,
it's going to create an immediate conflict because we know that Jon and Davos are arriving at Dragonstone. Davos has been through hell and back with this girl, and Jon kicked her out of Winterfell. Do you think we're going to be getting a conflict between Daenerys and Jon based on what to do with Melisandre?
Yeah, I see some tension there. Jon, like, I don't think Jon has it in for her the same way as Davos, obviously.
I agree. Like, he did that out of respect for Davos because he's a good supporter. Like, he'd rather have Davos by his side than Melisandre. And
Exactly.
to have Davos by his side, he had to kick her to the curb.
But he seems very open to experimenting with alliances. Like, the fact that he's going there himself is a huge show of like showing of the throat, or like a not a submission, but a way of showing confidence that he's not in it to kill her. He's in it to sort of work with her. So it will be interesting to see what, like, Melisandre is the only one that's vouching for him, really, and then Tyrion as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like Jon will have to brush it aside and talk Davos down. Because they did banish her from Winterfell, and she's not in Winterfell. She's allowed to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, she does back Jon. But what I find really interesting about this scene is that Daenerys asks Melisandre, she pretty much states, the Lord of Light doesn't have many followers in Westeros. And Melisandre responds, not yet. But the people who even don't believe can serve his cause.
Yeah.
To me, Daenerys' statement of almost asking if there's not many followers in Westeros, I don't know why, but immediately when I heard this, I thought of Daenerys may try and implement that religion in Westeros.
Yeah, as like a Spanish Inquisition, like if you don't believe it, you die.
I don't think that intense. I'm just thinking she's from Essos, or she kind of grew up in Essos. The Red God or the Red Priest helped Meereen and store faith and helped her strategically. And now she has this Red Witch come to her door. And in Westeros, there isn't many Red Witches. It's not a religion that's really followed. It almost seems like an opportunity. It's worked out for Daenerys so far. Why not use Melisandre and push this faith throughout the realm?
Well, it's like we've been waiting for this moment forever, and is what seems like next episode of Jon meeting Daenerys. So it'll be very interesting to see what Daenerys takes away from Jon, because I don't even understand the dynamic. I don't think she's going to be like smitten with him, because she might think him as a threat, right? He's pretty charismatic. Everything he's been through is like almost bigger than her and her like intentions. So it will be interesting to see how she like takes him in. Like, is it an immediate alliance, or she doesn't trust it, or she doesn't want really anything to do with him, in the same way like he is a threat to my thrones. And this is not even knowing of the whole birth thing, and like they're sort of is she considered then his aunt?
Yeah.
Right?
She's his aunt, yeah.
But the way that Jon is, he seems like he'll serve her cause, but I think she'll be like taken aback at how, I guess, lack of a better word, special he is.
Well, there almost is kind of a competing aspect there, and Melisandre is sure to compare them. Because Jon doesn't give a fuck. He just wants to stop the Long Night. But Daenerys, we've seen in the past that she's really... She does kind of push significance.
Yeah, but you gotta think, Melisandre is like... She thought Stannis was the next incoming, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like she is 100% biased on Jon because of what she was able to do with him. She didn't think she had it in him.
I do think that she's in on Jon, but also she's not ready to commit anymore because of Stannis. She told Daenerys about the prophecy and how only the prince who was promised can bring the dawn. They did address that the prince is actually gender neutral, and Daenerys asked if the prophecy was about her, and Melisandre stated that prophecies are dangerous things. She's not ready to commit that it's Daenerys, or maybe she's kind of pushing it aside because she does believe that Jon is the savior. But either or, I don't think she's ready to commit to one person at this point. She feels like she has to bring these two people together because they're huge heavy hitters in the long night to come.
That's what I'm trying to say, though. Melisandre, I believe, thinks that Jon is this one because of what happened, but she wouldn't say that to this now possible queen because she would consider him as a threat.
Yeah, because maybe she feels the way that I do. Like me personally as a viewer, I feel like Daenerys is a tool to aid Azor Ahai in the Long Night. She has the dragon, she has the dragon glass, she's the mother of dragons. She is like, she's the conqueror, and she helps aid Azor Ahai in this fight.
I don't think it's just him that will win the whole thing. It's like a combination of all the key players that are going to be alive at the end of this.
Yeah.
He might be the shaker of hands between whatever alliance he forms with the evil side, or the last sword strike, if you will. But he's not going to be doing it by himself. He needs all these people.
Yeah, that too. And Melisandre really talks Jon up. And you said that you don't know if Daenerys will be smitten with Jon. I think that she will really like Jon, and I don't think Jon will really return it until later. Because Melisandre tells Daenerys of Jon's deeds, saying that he went north of the wall. He brought the wildlings into the fold. He brought them back over the wall in the alliance to fight a common enemy. And that's very similar to what Daenerys has done. The two characters have broken norms in bringing peace between people. She tried to abolish slavery, whereas Jon is bringing two groups of people together that haven't been in thousands of years.
Yeah, that's true.
They're both a bridge between people.
I could see it from that, but at the same time, if you had someone that was exactly like you and you were trying to be the CEO of the company, you might treat that person as a threat and might not want to, not necessarily associate yourself with them, but you might not want to put them in positions where their loyal fans or followers might overthrow your followers.
Yeah.
Like, you're in now a charisma race, and they both seem like they have a lot behind them.
Yeah, and on the bottom line, they both are similar characters. They both do good things, and they both have their flaws, but at the same time, they have different agendas. Daenerys wants to conquer Westeros, whereas Jon wants to save Westeros.
Yeah. I don't think he cares about being, I think he even says it in this episode, he doesn't want to be the king.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He just wants to save Westeros, and it's going to be hard to get Daenerys on that page. And then Daenerys is going to want something from Jon, which is going to be interesting because, Tyrion vouches for Jon Snow. They met before, and the characters have a huge chemistry, and I'm excited to see them together again because Tyrion has really helped shape Jon into the character he is, and now he's kind of helping shape Daenerys. He's keeping Daenerys from being reckless, and at the Wall, he told Jon about all of the people at the Night's Watch. He pretty much told him that all these people have stories.
Yeah.
You can't be ignorant to who they are. You can't judge people. And that advice led Jon to bring the wildlings south of the Wall.
Exactly.
And now Tyrion's doing that with Daenerys. And that's the interesting thing, is that Daenerys agrees, but she wants Jon to bend the knee. So that's just like, Jon needs something from Daenerys. He doesn't have much. They don't have a huge army. They're relying on the Vale. He needs dragon glass and dragon fire. But what's she going to want out of Jon? Bend the knee.
She's going to want, loyalty.
But then...
Fealty.
Yeah, but
Swear
then
fealty.
if it's loyalty, then what would she make him do?
She wants the North. She wants to conquer the North without having to go to war with it. Just like any general or conqueror would want to do. So if he still want to do it, then she wants that.
Yeah, but bending the knee is having superiority over another. But she could still have the North in an alliance.
But that's what I'm trying to say. The thing is with Jon, he doesn't want it, which makes everybody want to give it to him more. You know what I mean? Like, he's so...
He walks into everything.
Yeah, like, he has no choice. That's why it's so, like, for me, and, like, we would be eating dirt if he is not Azor Ahai.
Yeah.
But he, like, it seems so obvious to me, and I think to you, that he is, that even the mere talk of this Melisandre saying, blurring the lines between its gender neutral thing, it was a way of blurring the line that, it still could be anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it would be really weird and jarring now if it ends up being Daenerys. So it's like, it is Jon. He's not going to ask for it. It's just in his destiny. That's
I think
all it is.
I think Jon's past will come into fold next episode. Daenerys wants him to bend the knee, and you see the look on Tyrion's face, and it almost looks like he kind of disagrees with Daenerys' want to have him bend the knee. Yeah. And it's her constant want of people to have blind loyalty to her. But with Jon, that's not going to happen. The wildlings have changed him, and even earlier in the seasons, he said that he doesn't have a king. He won't kneel. Mm-hmm. And he never will kneel, and he won't stop until he has an equal alliance with Daenerys. He doesn't want her to be superior to him. He's going to be equals. I think he's going to refuse to bend the knee, and Daenerys is going to have to accept him because he has Tyrion saying nothing but great things about Jon, and then he also has Melisandre telling him about the stories that they had. And then you're going to have Davos spouting to Daenerys about Jon too, about everything that he's done.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And she'd be stupid to turn him down for not bending the knee. And that's where this episode name comes into play. Episode 3 is called The Queen's Justice. It has to do with Cersei, but I believe here it has to do as well. The Queen's justice is what to do with Jon Snow, the King of the North, who refuses to bend the knee. And I think she won't have a choice other than entering an alliance. And that's what it's going to be like with Dorne and with Highgarden, is that you have these people with different agendas that don't support her as a person, but support what she represents and what she can bring and to them.
It almost seems like to me that he is going to be just constantly tested this entire season. Almost like he has no choice. He can't bend the knee because that would give up all of the North in literally one move, which he pretty much promised that he wouldn't do. But he needs what she has. So I feel like she's going to say, oh, you're so great. Go do this, that, this, and another thing to prove how great you are. And he's going to do it. Yeah. And we see him already in trailers doing like crazy shit.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see the characters meet, because we've always seen Daenerys take the upper hand. She's like, she out-alphas everybody. She's a badass. But I hope there's a conflict between Jon and Dany in the way that when they meet, she can't get the upper hand.
Well, because Jon doesn't take this road. It's kind of like Tyrion. Like Tyrion always, in two choice situations, Tyrion comes up with a third choice, always. And Jon's very similar. Like he will pivot, and just the sheer fact that he's not into this king shit, it will come through. Like she won't be able to do that, able to overpower him in that sense, because he's not into it. He can say all you want, but it's not going to be like that. You know what I mean? That's just how he is.
Yeah, he's just going to have his end goal, and that's going to be in his mind.
Yeah, and he's just such an honest dude that you can't ask him to play the game that he doesn't want to play.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a shock to her, because even Tyrion says in this episode that Jon has more reason to hate Cersei than any of you, because Cersei and the Lannisters are responsible for the death of his brother and his father and all this shit. And I think Daenerys is happy because she thinks that she's going to meet this cool guy, cool king in the North who wants bloodshed against the Lannisters and wants to give her the throne because he thinks that she would be the rightful ruler. But no, Jon's going to get there. He's not going to give a fuck who sits on the Iron Throne. He's not going to be like stuck on vengeance. He's not going to want revenge. He's just going to want to save the people that are currently alive and move on. And I think that'll kind of shock her. And I think she'd kind of respect that. So I'm interested to see the interaction between them.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a big moment.
But then Daenerys plans her attack on King's Landing. Yara and Ellaria want to attack King's Landing right now because they think that they have the numbers. They would take it, no doubt. But Tyrion doesn't want tens of thousands to die in all of the firestorms. And I found it interesting because Ellaria said that this is war, but then Tyrion throws some shade saying that they don't wage war by killing little girls.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that they addressed that conflict. But they brushed it under the rug. They're allies now. They have to move on. Tyrion has to forgive Ellaria for killing his niece. But most interesting thing is that Daenerys shuts them all down, saying that, Tyrion commands respect, and she will not be the Queen of the Ashes. So it's pretty clear that she's spewing what Tyrion has been saying. She really admires Tyrion as an advisor, but Daenerys is really impulsive. So my question is, do you think that Daenerys will be the Queen of the Ashes? Will she be able to hold back and take over Westeros responsibly?
So I really feel now, you might know, obviously, I think you do know more of the plot than I am. So this is me just guessing, as our fans are as well, that maybe haven't read into all the spoilers. So I really feel like Daenerys is going to try her damnedest to try and make this plan work that Tyrion's laid out, but she's going to get foiled every time, and we've already seen one foil.
Yeah. Right?
So I think it's going to come to a point where she has no other choice but to do the dragon thing.
I agree. And it's like, this episode really set it up. And it's like, the political games are a bit smaller in Dragonstone. It's funny because amongst all of her people, everyone in her alliance or cabinet are playing political games amongst each other. Like Tyrion is pushing being responsible and protecting her reputation, and that'll rally people to her side.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other people who are telling her to be the dragon, be who she's supposed to be. You need people to fear you. And that's the constant struggle that she was going through in this episode. But that's what's so crazy about it, is that she's trying to be civil, but we've seen Daenerys fight with extremes.
Yeah.
Like when she was trying to rid Essos of slavery, she rallied up all the slavers and hung them up to posts just like they did the slaves.
Yeah.
And she did it to them alive, and that was crazy. Like, that was reckless. So that's the whole thing, is that Daenerys right now is trying to act all high and mighty. She wants to act above everyone and not bring Westeros to ashes. But every time she gets pushed, she uses fire and blood.
Yeah, but it does really seem like a different world, though. It sounds, maybe, I don't know if you'll agree, but Westeros sounds like more modern than Essos.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like their high society, even though it's still medieval, whereas Essos seems more biblical times, where people were being crucified and being, like, their arms cut off for crimes and stuff like that, whereas Westeros seems like medieval, where there is laws, there is sort of courts, there is those things. So it's now she has to kind of be polite. There is table manners in Westeros, whereas there maybe wasn't as much in Essos. It was a different world. Like, you had to rule with an iron fist because you were respected in Essos for that. Whereas Westeros, it's you have to please the people at your dinner party.
Yeah, I get that, but at the same time, I feel like she's shown that in certain situations, when she gets emotionally affected, she doesn't have any discipline. Like, discipline to be the better person.
No, she'll burn it down.
Oh, she'll burn shit down for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, we see Yara and Ellaria get captured, and their whole fleet is destroyed. And that is one sign that Daenerys cannot wage war ethically against Cersei, because Cersei's pulling all stops. She will kill little girls. Like, she doesn't care.
No, she doesn't
and
care.
And Daenerys is following this rule book from Tyrion. So it'll be interesting to see how long that lasts.
But it seems like Cersei's goading this, attack me. And that's why I really feel like she's going to foil all of these plans. And then Daenerys is going to have no choice but to literally show up in King's Landing with dragon. And one of these dragons is getting taken down by what we've already seen.
Yeah.
At least one.
No, for sure. I think that's definitely going to happen. And I think what will really push her, like, it could be battle strategy wise, because Tyrion didn't mention how or what they're going to do about Highgarden. He talks about how he wants Yara to escort Ellaria back to Sunspear, and then Yara's fleet is going to escort the Dornish to King's Landing, and they're going to pull off a siege, because they want the people of Westeros taking over King's Landing.
Yeah.
They don't want a foreign invader taking over King's Landing, because it's bad rep on her, and the people won't support her.
This is the table manners.
Exactly. And then he also wants the Unsullied to go to Casterly Rock. But now there's a wrench thrown in that plan, because Yara and the Dornish, Ellaria and the Sandsnakes, have been captured and killed. So that whole part of the plan is gone. And he never mentioned Highgarden. And we know that there's going to be a battle at Highgarden. We know that Cersei has made it very well known that she wants to go there for resources.
Mm-hmm.
So this may be a plot point that comes up next episode, where they realize, oh, they're there gathering resources. And Lady Olenna may be there. She may send a raven or something. And they're going to have to step up and bring the Dothraki to Highgarden. It's funny because Tyrion never mentioned that. And I think this is going to be the place where Daenerys, if she's going to snap, she will snap. We've seen in the trailers there's a shit ton of fire. A lot of stuff is going down. And I think the war will start off pretty civil. Daenerys is going to be burning carriages. She's not going to be burning people.
Mm-hmm.
But then it takes the death of some of her men. I think it's going to take the death of Grey Worm. And she's going to see that. And she's going to feel like she failed him, because she's acting in a civil way. She has all of these resources by her side, and she's not using them. And because of that, one of her friends has died. And because of all these circumstances, because she didn't fight using all of these resources. She's going to freak the fuck out, and she's going to burn everyone with her dragons, tarnishing her reputation while she's doing it. Even with her own people, because we see her burning Dothraki.
Yeah, like friendly fire.
Yeah, so she's going to be reckless. She's going to kill everybody. She's going to burn them all alive, and she's even going to burn her own men. So I think that's going to paint a terrible picture, and it's going to only validate everything negative Cersei's been saying against her. And that's how Cersei's going to win this war, is that she just builds on the negative reputation of Daenerys and has everyone in Westeros support her. And I think Daenerys is going to prove her right by not listening to Tyrion.
Yeah, I really feel like she's going to take off and try and do shit on her own, because her council's plans aren't working, and they're not working as fast as she would want them to.
Yeah.
And she's going to freak out, show up, and she'll probably lose a dragon for it.
I would say if she loses a dragon, it wouldn't be with the people, which would be interesting. I'd be interested to see Qyburn's crossbow end up killing one of her dragons. I don't think that'll happen. I think that was just put into the plot to add stakes and add maybe like the thought, oh my god, one of her dragons could die. But I think if a dragon dies, it would make sense to be north of the wall or amongst the White Walkers. Because we've seen in the last episode we have white giants. And I think we're going to be seeing white wolves, maybe white spiders, possibly. And I think white dragons is a huge possibility. And I think killing a dragon without having it resurrected as a white to even the fight between the dead and the living, I think that would be a huge wasted opportunity.
Could she do it with one dragon?
Could she do what with one dragon?
Like, we only need one dragon, it seems like. If she loses one dragon in a war against the people, and then she loses another dragon, not because it dies, but because it's turned.
I think that would be an interesting story, but I think one dragon is hers and one dragon is Jon's.
Like, that's what I think. Like, there's no way those crossbows aren't hitting a dragon in this season. Whether it kills one, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to say for sure it's going to kill a dragon, but I don't think a dragon's coming unscathed.
That would be interesting. I think it might just be something to add stakes, but I don't know. Like, you never know. Maybe the reason we see... Oh, actually, in the trailers, we only see Drogon fighting. So we don't see any other dragons. So maybe she left them behind on Dragonstone. And I'm pretty sure Drogon wouldn't die at a battle for Highgarden. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, I really feel like she's going to make a run on King's Landing. Like, almost even by herself on a dragon. So stupidly, because she's just in a fit or something. And she just, that one takes one in the chest or something.
Yeah.
And it's like really heartbreaking to see like that her stupid rage, and she's risking it all and she's losing everything.
Well, that's the thing. And then she talks to Lady Olenna alone, and Lady Olenna's really pushing against Tyrion's counsel, which is what I feel like she's eventually going to go with, is that she pretty much tells her that peace never lasts. Like, sure, you want to bring peace to the realm, but it's never going to last. And she warns her to never trust clever men like Tyrion. And she says the reason that she's alive is because she learned how to ignore them.
Yeah.
She has outlived all the clever men. And she pretty much tells her that all the lords of Westeros are sheep, and she shouldn't be a sheep to take over Westeros. She's a dragon, so she should be a dragon, pretty much.
Yeah. But it would be really hard. Maybe that advice would hold true, but it would be really hard for me to believe her if I was in the situation. She literally has nothing left.
Yeah, I know, I agree.
Like, she has nothing left. She wants to see this world burn before she dies because her legacy is gone when she does die.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though. Like, her advice may not be... It's not in Daenerys' best interest. It's in her own best interest. And that's the whole thing with Daenerys' council, is that some of them aren't fighting for her. They're fighting for what she represents. So it's like, hey, like, yeah, fuck yeah, kill all the Lannisters before I die. I'll be happy. I don't care what happens to you, though.
Yeah, and she's obviously embittered towards Tyrion, who is a Lannister, and isn't the type of guy that you would see that high in the chain of command.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of battle plans, we got another foreign invasion. But this time it was with Melisandre and Grey Worm.
No,
Pretty clever.
Invasions, No invasion. A false invasion.
no invasion. Surprise.
A Trojan horse.
No, I actually really like this scene.
Until it went on for way too long?
It was on for a while, but I loved how he said that he was never the biggest or the strongest, but he was the bravest. And he's not really the bravest anymore because of Melisandre.
Yeah.
But then there's a tense moment where there's no music and she pulls off his pants and she sees nothing. And then...
yeah, so what do you think? Like,
it's
piss
just
balls?
a long, drawn-out porn scene. But I loved it.
You think he's just piss balls?
I honestly have no idea. I actually did some genuine research on Google, and I found that they cut with a hooked blade that is really hot, and then they stick in kind of a straw, and they have it heal around the straw so they can pee out of that.
Interesting.
But I could be wrong, but I'm not sure. But you'd think they want to keep the balls there for testosterone purposes.
Yeah, they got to. Whereas, like, I wonder that if Varys had a different procedure done.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, but, like, just the way Varys carries himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I love the interaction. This scene tells me one thing. Very long, great character development between Grey Worm and Melisandre, which only means Grey Worm is fucked.
Yeah, he's done.
He's leaving now. Next episode, guaranteed, we're going to see him in Casterly Rock. I'm very, very certain we're going to see him in Casterly Rock. I think the taking of Casterly Rock is going to be the end of the episode, kind of like this ship battle. It's going to end again with a nice little action scene.
Yeah.
But then I think he's going to die in like a big war for Highgarden, and I think that's going to be what propels Daenerys to
freak the fuck out.
By reputation, the Mad Queen. Which of course she isn't, but she's very impulsive, and her seeing the death of Grey Worm would freak her the fuck out, so I think that's what would end up happening.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, so Cersei's banking on her freaking out, so that she could get other unsure people to rally behind her, saying like, "This chick is crazy. You thought I was crazy. This chick is crazy."
Exactly. Well, that's her whole war strategy. Is like, this person is coming in. Her job literally is to make Daenerys look worse than her.
Exactly.
She knows the people hate her, but she needs them to hate Daenerys more.
Exactly.
So they support her. But that goes on to Cersei's first blood, her first attack, which was Euron's attack on the Sandsnakes and Yara's fleet. I said before I didn't love this scene. I actually appreciate it more now. Thank you to all the people down below in the comment section telling me very artsy shit and how the scene was supposed to seem chaotic and unexpected. And you said that too, Trev.
Yeah.
It's supposed to seem like that because Euron came out of nowhere. I get it, and I got to watch it on a brighter screen, and I got to see more of what happened, so I liked it. See the Sandsnakes talking. Ellaria invades Yara, foreignly invades Yara, just kind of like Grey Worm and Melisandre.
Yeah.
But then they get attacked by Euron. Bridge drops. Euron drops in like a psycho. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He seems a little bit different to me than he was in Season 6.
Yeah, they're really pumping up the crazy pirate guy.
Yeah, he's gotten a little nuts.
Reckless pirate.
Yeah, but then we see Theon take people out. Very good fighter. He did a good job. He held his own.
Yeah, fucking Theon.
Tyrion protects her mother. Euron kills 2 of the Sandsnakes, which is great. He killed the one that I hate first. I was so happy.
Yeah.
And then Yara fights Euron. It's a cool fight. Captures her. Holds her hostage. Yells at Theon. And then Theon kind of sees everyone get all cut up. And then he turns into Reek again. He kind of gets PTSD. Freaks out. I appreciated that. And then he freaks out and just kind of jumps off into the water.
Yeah.
So then Theon watches as they sail away.
See, I don't even hate him for that. It's like everything else before. I obviously, it seems like he doesn't make sense, and he just seems like a pussy in this moment. But what was he gonna do? Just run into his blade or get his sister killed?
Yeah. He knows he can't beat Euron. He knows that they have lost. But I do think that he did jump because he got put back in that moment of PTSD. He got freaked out. He got like really freaked out.
No, for sure. It's like him going back in his cage. Yeah,
exactly. And that's why I think he's going to be so important going forward, which I'm sure you're going to hate, is that he's literally paid the iron price. What is dead may never die. This fucker has 9 lives.
Yeah.
He's almost used all of them. And I think he's like the perfect candidate for what Ironborn truly is. Even though you may look at him and he may like seem cowardly, but he literally is kind of an embodiment of what a true Ironborn is. Even though he wasn't raised on the island.
No, he's gonna have his own little tiny minor kind of Jon arc. I really feel like the next time we see Theon, he will literally he'll be choking up water on the beach of some island or shore of somewhere. And he, like you said, did the ceremony that they do to choose a king. You know
I think
what I mean?
we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see some Ironborn swoop by and pick him up. But like, I hope Theon gets like a redemption arc in the sense that like, he's been through everything. Like he's lost everything, right?
That's what I'm trying to say. Like I really feel like the prophecy that or like whatever the spiritual tradition is on the Iron Islands to drown and then revive is what's going to happen to him, whether it's figuratively or metaphorically.
Like that would be awesome.
That's why I picture him like coming to on a beach, and he would have like technically drowned but survived, or maybe picked up by someone, but still like because of water, he's in the water. He's got no one around him, and he gets picked up, or he's on the beach, and he's then the king of the Iron Islands because of what he's gone through.
I think that would be awesome. It would show him drowning and coming back, not as kind of a plan. It just ends up happening.
Exactly.
And it proves further that he's coming into being an Ironborn.
You can tell I'm not giving it much thought because I can't stand the guy, but that's the only redemption I can see bringing me around to his side near the end.
But then we go to Winterfell, and we see that they're actually training the young, like Jon said in the last episode. They get a letter from Tyrion, and it proves that it's Tyrion because, in quotes, it says, all dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes. I love the callback to the first season. And it's funny because in my predictions, I actually featured a callback from the same scene. Mm-hmm. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
Okay, here's the thing. Tyrion told Jon in the first episode to never forget who he is, the fact that he's a bastard, because the rest of the world will not, and he should wear it like armor. Right?
Yeah.
So I thought it would be interesting that since Jon is king of the north now, it's almost like he's forgotten who he is because bastards aren't supposed to inherit lands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think kind of almost as a witty joke, it would be cool if Tyrion, when he greets Jon for the first time next episode, he would say like, oh, hey, Jon, it seems like you've forgotten who you are. Because now he's the king of the north, right? And since he's a bastard, he shouldn't have those titles.
Well, I think there's a lot of catching up to do with him. Because they're like,
sure, it's awesome.
Why you're not on the night? Why you're not on the Night's Watch?
Oh, I died in the cold north.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be awesome if Jon was like, yeah, I didn't forget who I was. I wear it like armor. And then it's like a cool callback between the characters. And like, it'd be awesome. I'm so excited to see them come back together. Oh, it's going to be fucking awesome. Because we see Jon walk into the throne room to see Daenerys with Tyrion and Melisandre. They're going to be greeting him at the beach. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited. Mm-hmm. But when they're talking about this letter from Tyrion, Jon asks Sansa what she thinks. So he's actually somewhat trying to get her opinion on things. And she pretty much says that Tyrion's not like the other Lannisters. But she said that it's too risky. And I feel like Jon in his mind was like, oh, that's all I need. Your validation that Tyrion's cool, that's fine. I don't care if it's too risky. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And then that's pretty much all the counsel he gets from Sansa.
Yeah.
Before he drops a fucking bomb. But before he drops that bomb, Davos mentions that whites die from fire and dragons breathe fire, which gives Jon even further motive to go to Dragonstone.
Exactly.
For Dragonglass, but the fact that he needs Daenerys' dragons now further pushes that he needs an alliance with her. Because he needs her to get to the dragons. Or does he? That's the question.
I think he does.
He may show up and Rhaegal might flock to Jon.
I mean, I don't see too much with the dragons. You might know more about it than that, but I just feel like I really feel like he's going to have to win this war for her, basically.
Yeah.
Even though he's got the other threat, but in order to get what he wants, he's got to do what she wants. So then all his greatness is going to shine through because he has no other choice but to be great. It's written in his like stars, if you will. and he's just, that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like I'm really, maybe you know, and I don't want to know, but like I really want to know, but have patience to wait for it, to try and figure out why they're in the north in that circle of dudes fighting with just them. It seems like what would bring them to that point? It seems like a really desperate move.
I know, and everything is leading to Eastwatch based on episode 1. The Brotherhood's going there. Jon sent Tormund and the Wildlings to Eastwatch to protect it because he believes the Night King will attack there. So it'll be interesting to see that. But Jon's continued greatness continues when he's in the Great Hall at Winterfell, and he's pretty much telling them that he got a letter from Sam, telling him that there's Dragonstone on Dragonglass, as well as a letter from Tyrion to meet with Daenerys. So Jon tells him that he will accept, and that's it. Sansa reminds him about what happened to their grandfather, and that it is a trap because Daenerys wants the 7 kingdoms, and that Winterfell and the North is one of those 7.
Yeah.
Which she does make a good point, but I really understand where Jon's going. I'm kind of in his camp. Lord Royce states that Targaryens can't be trusted, which just further shows that Daenerys does not have a good reputation coming into Westeros. And then the rest of his bannermen aren't happy either. Lord Glover tells him that Robb rode south and then he lost his kingdom. Lady Mormont says that winter is here. They need the king in the north. So Jon pretty much tells him that, hey, yeah, I didn't mean to be king. I don't want to be king, but I want the best for the north. Sansa speaks up again that he's abandoning his people. But Jon shuts her up by leaving Winterfell in her hands.
Yeah.
So what do you think this means going forward for Winterfell with Sansa and with Jon? Because Sansa's clearly going to love ruling Winterfell, because she's really good at that political game. Jon is consumed with the threat coming inbound.
Saving the world, yeah.
So when Jon comes back, will he even have time to reclaim his title as King of the North?
I don't think he wants it. I don't think he'll ever get that again. I don't think that's anything that he wants. I see him ruling the world just because of everything that he has going for him, by blood, by action, by sheer, everyone loves him for who he is. Like he's just that character. He can't get away from greatness, and he's got Targaryen blood, and he literally is set to not necessarily like save the world, but make the threat go away, one way or the other.
Yeah, and that's what makes me so nervous about... It's funny how you say that. It makes me nervous about this interaction because it seemed like they were really hinting at this is the last time Jon's going to be king in the North.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like, sure, he's leaving to Dragonstone. He's still going to be king in the North, but Sansa's ruling in his stead. But what happens when Jon comes back and everything's in shit, and Jon's not going to be able to rule? He has to fight. And Sansa's going to be there ruling. Like, I don't know if there's going to be a point where Jon's going to be able to continue ruling the North.
I don't think he's going to be ruling just the North. If he's ruling at all, he's ruling all of Westeros.
Or he's ruling over the Wall.
I think he's much bigger than that.
What if something crazy happens where he has to be the person to keep the Night King and the White Walker Society north of the Wall? And to do that, he has to, like, take the mantle of the new Night King. I'm going tinfoily as hell, but I still think it's an interesting possibility.
Yeah, I almost feel like that's where it's going to. Like, he will become the Night King for a different reason, though. Like, as a martyr. Like, self-sacrificing, like, fuck. Like, it's either my whole world and everyone that I know and love, or we all die.
And that's the bittersweet ending, is that Jon has to make the sacrifice of being the next Night King. And the reason why I'm so passionate and I think that this is going to happen, or not that I just think it's a possibility, and I'm going to be making a video about it, but the connections between Jon and the Night King is insane. Even down to who they are. They are externally ice. Jon has been raised as a Stark. The Night King literally is a fucking ice person.
Yeah, he's Jack Frost.
But internally, they're fire. They're dragon. Jon's blood is Targaryen blood, even though he identifies as ice, Stark. The Night King is an ice person who has ice abilities. However, in the middle of their heart is dragonglass.
Yeah.
Fire. Jon is literally the human embodiment of the Night King.
Yeah, he was like created by society, whereas the Night's King was created by magic.
Exactly. So they're just two similar, exactly the same characters, but are just parallel. Like it's insane. So I think there has to be something more to that.
Yeah, I have sort of seen it since the beginning. We could be wrong, but I really feel it's a self-sacrificing ending here.
And yeah, and it makes sense to me because Jon's the kind of character who would do the honorable thing, whatever's right. And his whole character arc has been perspective. He wants to bring people together, the wildlings. He went north of the wall. He learned who they were and that they were just people. They don't deserve to be shunned on the other side of the wall. So he brought them into the fold and he brought them together. And what's next for Jon could be learning the perspective of the White Walkers. And almost trying to, in a way, trying to keep both sides at ease. And that's where Daenerys comes in because she would not allow that to happen. She would try and save her people, whereas Jon may try and take more of a diplomatic approach. But let's move on to Ned Stark. Jon is in the crypts of Winterfell. Peter Baelish visits him. Not off to a good start. Tells him that he delivered Ned Stark's bones there himself. And Tyrion actually gave those bones to him out of goodwill. I find it interesting that Littlefinger brought up Tyrion, which kind of adds to the respect that Jon would have for him. But I don't think it does for Littlefinger, because I think it's obvious to Jon, as it is to us, that Littlefinger really wants Jon to realize everything that he's done and all the good deeds that he's done, and he's trying to get a reward out of Jon. Because he's saying, hey, I brought your dad's bones here. That's honorable.
Yeah.
And then he keeps kind of nudging in, saying how much he loved Cat, just like Ned. And he also says that, hey, I brought in the veil and I saved it for you. You wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for me. And you've defied all odds. Wow, you're amazing. And then he gets a little bit more aggressive, saying that he hasn't even said thank you. But then he goes on, which pisses off Jon. He says that he loves Sansa like he did her mother. So it's very obvious here that Littlefinger's trying to show Jon all of the good things that he's done and why he should be rewarded. And then he's saying, hey, my reward should be Sansa. Maybe you should marry me to Sansa. And, Jon freaks out, chokes him out, says that, if he touches her, he'll kill him. But I find that interesting because I feel like that was honestly Littlefinger's only play. He couldn't get Sansa to marry him willingly or be with him willingly. And that was, one of his ways. He could try and get it through Jon. He can't. So I think he's really at a crossroads now where he doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't seem very Littlefinger of him to do what he did, because usually he's pretty smart about shit, and he seemed desperate in this scene. Like he knew it was a risk to do what he did. He went down, offensively went down into the crypts when it's not meant to. He did it like he snuck up on him and put him on the spot.
Yeah. And I think, he is in a desperate position because he doesn't want to go back to Cersei. Even in the last episode, he was talking to Sansa, asking if she was happy. Like, he's trying to appeal to Sansa again and get on her good side. But she's not having it.
And he knows Jon's leaving. So Jon's word is nothing now that he's leaving. And Sansa's in control. So he's in a desperate spot. That was his last Hail Mary throw to see what he could get out of the situation that he's in.
Exactly, yeah. But now that Jon's gone, what do you think his play is?
I don't know. He's so slippery. He's tough to pin down. It would be really hard for me to say he would go back to Cersei, because I really don't. I think that would be even more of a risk. But at the same time, he's super pinned down here.
Here's what I think. I think that, first of all, they made it clear in the last episode, when Sansa was talking to Brienne, that the reason Littlefinger is there is because of his army. Winterfell needs his army. The Vale army. Because he's really close to Robin, right? So that's the whole thing. And I think Littlefinger, now that he couldn't get Sansa to like him initially, asking if she's happy and that kind of thing, she shut him down. He couldn't get a marriage from Jon. I think now he's going to use his army as collateral. If you want my support, then you will wed me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think he has his army as collateral. I think he may be in a tough position too, because we know that there's going to be a battle at Highgarden. Lady Olenna, we saw her at Dragonstone, but if she heads back to Highgarden, she has valuable information. If Jaime captures Lady Olenna and she happens to tell him that her and Littlefinger conspired to kill King Joffrey,
that
would make its way to Cersei. Cersei would be freaking pissed. She would summon Littlefinger to King's Landing, and I think she would eliminate all of his titles to anything. He would lose Harrenhal. He would lose absolutely everything, and that puts Sansa in a really powerful position.
But I wouldn't picture him answering that call. He knew he would know he would be dead.
I agree. He wouldn't answer that call. That's why I think Sansa could do something like, hey, you do this for me, and I will give you the Dreadfort.
Well, she's going to wrap him around her finger.
I think
he's so fucking crafty.
I think this season is going to be huge because I think Sansa it's going to be the one season where Sansa beats Littlefinger, and I think Bran's going to be a help. By the time Bran arrives, which I think it's going to be next episode, I think he's going to have vital information, and I think she's going to be playing him the whole season. She's going to get what she wants out of him, and then that's it.
What I'm worried of on the next couple of episodes is Arya missing Jon.
I think the show loves to do that to us, so I think that's going to happen. Because I don't think they're going to show a scene of them meeting on the road and them just being like, oh, hey,
yeah,
I'm going to Winterfell. Oh, sorry, I'm going to Dragonstone. So I don't think we're going to see that. I don't know if they'll see each other until the next season.
Yeah, I know. Like it's so frustrating. I was thinking about it. I was like, fuck, they're gonna misconnection it.
Yeah, and it's sad too because Jon's like the one thing like in Arya's scene. We'll talk about it later, but she seemed so like broken. Like it didn't seem like her. But then as soon as Hot Pie mentioned Jon, it kind of grounded her, and she got kind of emotional, and it made her want to go back home.
Oh, big time! She wouldn't have just gone back for Sansa.
Imagine I know. Imagine how pissed she's gonna be when she arrives in frickin' Sansa's Wardeness of the North.
Yeah, but still, at the same time, Bran might be showing up too, which is even weirder because what's gonna happen then with the power there? Because Bran would be rightful heir over everything. Just by,
I know.
Like, even over Jon because of blood, right? But I really don't think Bran's in it for that. He'll probably be like, no, Sansa can roll. I got fucking better shit to deal with here.
Yeah, I think he'll do that, as well as Jon is now 100% King of the North. So, and Sansa has been anointed Wardeness of the North by the King. So, I don't think that's going to be an issue. And yeah, you're right. Bran won't want it. He'll be like, look, I need to go back in the Weirwood Tree, and I need to get all this information. And by the way, Littlefinger's a piece of shit, and he did this, this, and this. Find this knife, because we saw Cat's Paw in Sam's book that he was reading.
Yeah.
And that may prove him being guilty. I'm not sure. But moving on to a character who we may see in Winterfell soon, Arya. The scene where she's with Hot Pie. She seemed very, she just seemed off to me in this scene. Like, she didn't seem like the Arya we know. I think it just showed how jaded she was from her whole experience. Like, she's not even, a kid anymore. She's, drinking ale. And, she's not even, looking at Hot Pie. And she seems so disconnected from the conversation.
Well, I feel almost like she's got the same thing as, we'll call it Westeros-itis. I really think that her and Daenerys are going through the same kind of thing. They're both now back on Westeros soil with their missions at hand, where they felt much more at home on Essos territory, where they were both sort of where they grew up in a way. I know Arya hadn't been there nearly as long as Daenerys, but she literally did grow up there and learned everything she knew now leading up to what she's got to do now. Yeah. So she's now in Westeros, and she's like, oh fuck, she's on edge. She's edgy, right? She's jittering, and she's almost like she's in survival mode, like a bum on the streets.
Yeah, and
she comes in eating all the bread and stuff like that.
And she's in mission mode, she wants to kill Cersei. And then the Arya we know kind of comes back when Hot Pie tells her about Jon.
No, exactly.
He's King of the North with the Battle of the Bastards. And then we see her make the ultimate decision of going to Winterfell. But then we get a lot of foreshadowing. She's at the fire, the horse is freaking out, which I thought was really cool to hint at the wolves.
Yeah.
The wolves arrive, but then Nymeria comes. And she pretty much tells Nymeria that she's going home, and she wants Nymeria to come with her. But that's about it. And then Nymeria leaves, and she says that that's not you.
Yeah.
First of all, her saying that's not you, it's been stated by the producers of the show that it's a nod to Arya, because in season 1, her father told her that, oh, you're going to be a princess in a castle with a lord, and you're going to have kids that are going to be kings, and blah, blah, blah. And she said that that's not me.
Yeah.
And her saying that's not you to Nymeria is pretty much saying that that's not you, you don't want to come with me, you have your own wolf pack, you are who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I took from this scene is that Nymeria and Arya, they're very similar characters. The one difference is that Nymeria has a wolf pack and Arya's been a lone wolf for a while. So I think this is something that's going to further push Arya to want to go to Winterfell to find her wolf pack, which is her family, and she's been away from them for so long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think these two scenes were cool because it really showed, or really kind of connected us back to Arya in Winterfell. It kind of took her away from the faceless persona.
Yeah, she's all geared up, ready to go.
Yeah. But then we go to the Citadel in Old Town, and we see Ebrose, Maester Ebrose, I believe his name is, Sam and Jorah. And Maester Ebrose pretty much tells Jorah that he has 6 months until his mind fades away. Sam ends up bringing up Shireen, saying that she was cured. And I love how Sam brought Shireen into this, because this was pretty much a theory that I never thought about, or I don't think anybody really thought about until this book was released in episode 1 of this season. The fact that Shireen was cured of grayscale might not have been just because of the Maesters. Could have been because of the dragon glass that happens to be on Dragonstone where she lives.
Yeah, she's like irradiated with it because she's where she lives.
So I thought that was awesome. Ebrose said that he's going to leave Jorah one more day. And he's going to, pretty much do with that as he will. He looks at the sword. It pretty much hints at killing himself before it moves on.
Yeah, he keeps looking at the knife.
Yeah, and then Sam finds out that Jorah is actually Jeor Mormont's son, who was his Lord Commander at Castle Black. And this pretty much shaped Sam into doing what he was going to do next. He's with Maester Ebrose, and he's getting a lot of books. One interesting thing that I found is that Ebrose mentions a book that he wants Sam to read. This is the Chronicles of the Wars Following King Robert I. And what I found interesting about this is that Sam is reading historical books, and anything that's tied to King Robert or Robert's Rebellion leads to maybe Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. So I think Sam learning about these histories could further hint at Jon's parentage.
Yeah, I agree. Because he's going to get a little bit deeper into it. Because, I was thinking about that situation. Does Bran know the truth? Or does he see... Because I haven't seen the scene in a long time. Does he know that that's Jon?
I think, yeah, he knows it's Jon. He knows that Lyanna Stark is his mom. And he knows that Rhaegar is his dad. I think we're going to be getting the tourney of Harrenhal this season. Just for Bran to kind of validate their relationship.
See, to me, I feel like Bran only knows, he's like, oh, that's a weird thing to have happened. My dad was there and he has a baby. And then he's going to put 2 and 2 together with more visions.
Yeah. I think, for Bran now, I think it's time for him to exploit the details. What did Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark do before they went to the Tower of Joy? Why is that significant?
Yeah, and he has to prove it. And I think you're right. I think Sam is going to be able to maybe second that opinion. That's
an excellent point, because Bran sure has all these abilities and all this knowledge, but what is it to anybody other than just words? They have to prove it. Exactly. And while Bran is in the Weirwood getting all this information, Sam is making notes of this and finding them in the history books.
Exactly.
And that's where they draw the connections. So that's the whole thing with Bran. He's almighty and all-powerful, but they're just words.
Yeah. But couldn't he... I was going to say, couldn't he just touch their arm and warg into them and, show them the truth?
I don't know.
Just get them to freak out?
I don't know if they showed him that... I don't know if they showed us that he has that ability.
It just seems seems interesting.
Yeah, I know. But then we see Jorah writing to Daenerys. He looks at his sword, again foreshadowing suicide. Sam comes in, told Jorah he's not dying today, and they start getting to work.
Oh my god.
Yeah, brutal. So he brings in...
What's brutal is he uses the tiniest little scalpel to do it. You would think if he's doing a mass scale scraping, he would use a bigger scraper.
Really?
He's doing one flake at a time.
I think it was pretty sweet though. He really tore off a significant amount in the first go. So
yeah, he got a good rip.
It was pretty good. And the stuff he brought in was interesting. He brought in 2 powders and kind of a mixture. I'm convinced it's all dragon glass. One of them is dragon glass powder, and I'm sure he mixes that with something to make a paste. I think he's going to use that paste to put it over the infected area. And then he'll be giving Jorah some grounded dragon glass maybe to eat to cure the infection on the inside. But yeah, I loved it. Sam tries to drink rum. Can't do it. So he gives it to Jorah. And they get to work. So I think next episode we're going to see Jorah completely rid of grayscale. So the next thing that they need to tackle in episode 3 is how do you cure the disease? Because they've ripped the grayscale off. So they just got to tackle the disease aspect.
Yeah.
But then the last character we have is Cersei. And pretty much she's doing what we think. She has some of the bannermen from House Tyrell. And she's pretty much telling them that the Mad King's daughter will destroy the realm. She tells them that she has Dothraki and Unsullied, which are foreign invaders.
Yeah.
And they're going to reap and rape your lands. And she pretty much says that the Mad King's daughter will continue to reap horrors throughout Westeros. And then she mentions a lot of callbacks to what's happened in previous seasons. Crucified hundreds of noblemen in Slaver's Bay, and she fed them to dragons. So obviously she left out that they were slavers, but even then it's still kind of a bad deed.
Yeah.
And that's just what we were saying earlier. Cersei has to say this stuff because in order for her to win this war, she has to appear better than Daenerys.
It's political mudslinging. What I was hoping that it would be addressed is the fucking sept blowing up. Like, do they not think she did it, or do they just think it was a sad accident?
I don't know. I think we've seen proof throughout these 2 episodes that it is kind of known that she did it. Because after she did it, she took the seat of the Iron Throne.
Well, she had no other choice.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if that's common knowledge or not. But she does have a negative reputation everywhere. Even Randall Tarley doesn't support her. That's why Jaime has to have a talk with him. Pretty much tells Randall Tarley that Lady Olenna, sure, you were loyal to her, but now she's driven by revenge. Yeah. And that revenge has brought Dothraki to the shores, which is a horrible thing because it's never been done before. And he pretty much promises Randall that if he helps them, he would be Warden of the South.
Yeah.
Which I think is a pretty good offer. And then we're going to see that alliance push on through the series. But then Qyburn takes Cersei down to the dungeons. And we see Balerion the Black Dread, which is pretty sweet. You see how big his skull was? It was incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But then another callback. They say that spears were used at fighting a dragon in the pits of Meereen, which was in season 5, and that's why he ended up building this weapon. So it's a giant crossbow. He shoots Balerion through the eye, and that's that. Do you think that crossbow is really going to be used this season?
I do. I think for sure a dragon's taking a hit. Like I said, I don't think I'm committed to saying that a dragon is dying at the hands of a crossbow. But I truly think a dragon's getting severely injured by one.
Do you have a specific dragon in mind?
Her main one, Drogon.
Drogon?
Yeah.
Really?
I do.
Wow, I like the way you think. That's interesting.
He would get her back and then maybe emotionally die off scene, right? But a part of me then thinks, like, Drogon's the only dragon with character. I can't even name the other 2 off the top of my head without looking it up.
Yeah.
So it would be really jarring to introduce the other 2 dragons as sort of secondary characters at this point.
I think
that's why I really think it's more of an injury that he's going to have to nurse.
I like the injury idea. I don't think Drogon is going to die. That's Daenerys' dragon until the end. I think Drogon will die at the end. However, introducing the other dragons as secondary characters, I believe they are going to introduce the green dragon, which is Rhaegal, which is named after Rhaegar, which is Jon's father, which will end up being Jon's dragon. And I think it's going to surprise her that he has just as much of a connection with Rhaegal as she does with Drogon. And I would like if they touched on Viserys, which is the orange dragon, because I think that's the one that's going to die because it doesn't have a rider. And I don't think they ever will give it a rider. I think it'll just be Jon and Daenerys, and the third rider will be the Night King.
Yeah.
Anything else you got to say?
No, that was a good episode. There wasn't much to say about that one. It was just really good.
It was an awesome episode. Really enjoyed it. We both thought we didn't have anything to say, but we've gone another an hour and 15 or an hour and 10.
Yeah.
So you know, who knows? As these episodes get longer, man, oh my god, we're going to have more and more to say. But awesome episode. Episode 3, guaranteed it's going to be even better.
Yeah, can't wait for that, man. There's some good stuff.
I'm excited. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.
See ya.